Need to turn anything on or do anything or?
Somersaults.
And I'll leave these. I do. But it just kind of stuck. Yeah, really. Good evening, everyone. Tonight is Tuesday, March 22nd. It's the regular meeting of the Roswell Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. I have a roll call vote, please.
Chair Story.
Here.
Commissioner McDaniel.
Present.
Commissioner Aguilar.
Here.
Commissioner Lassard.
Here.
Commissioner McCornack.
Here.
Commissioner Henderson.
Here.
Commissioner Gutierrez.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's see here. I guess now, Commissioner Henderson, if you will swear in the staff and members of the audience, please.
If everyone that's going to testify this evening will stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury? I do. You may be seated.
Next, we have the approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting, March 22nd. Anybody has any questions or changes? If not, I'd accept a motion.
Commissioners, I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Jana and a second by Jesse to approve tonight's March 22nd Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. On to the approval of the minutes from the last month's meeting, February 22nd, 2022, of the Planning and Zoning, and I believe we had a couple people absent there that meeting, Jesse and Richard, so they're not allowed to participate in the vote. Does anybody have any comments or changes or anything to the minutes from February 22nd?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
They use the word vote in several places that should have been moved, and those places under where we had a motion for 22008 CUP, it said Commissioner Lazarus voted to approve the case. That word should be moved to approve. And that same thing occurs on 22009 and 22004.
Spencer, do you see
So
where he's
I
talking
would-
about?
I would move that we change that word voted to the word moved. Does everyone understand what I'm talking about?
Yes.
That's not appropriate word.
Would you like to make a motion on that?
I would
Steve?
move that we amend the minutes and delete the word vetoed and insert the word moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Steve and a second by Saul to approve the minutes with the changes designating the wording from the motion summaries from voted to approve to move to approve case number. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Can you find those, Spencer? You know where he's talking about?
Yeah, I know where they are, and I
Okay.
can make those changes before I send them back to the city clerk for the final posting online. So
Okay.
that's no problem.
All right, thank you. Next, we have our public hearing items. Case number 22-001 of variance to a variance to minimum lot size requirements. See here, can we have a motion to waive the reading of the findings of facts and the land use and zoning considerations, please?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Jesse and a second by James to waive the reading of the finding of facts and land use and zoning considerations for case 22-001. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. Spencer, you want to give us a little something on this case?
Okay. Good evening, Chair, Story, and Commissioners. So the first public hearing item tonight is a request for approval of a variance to the minimum lot size requirements in the R2 zoning district in order to maximize property utilization at 914 North Ohio Ave. Okay. So the surrounding land uses are all R2 residential. And here you can see the property in relation to the city zoning map, all R2. So this slide shows the Ash Holdings summary replat on the left, which reconfigures the existing 4 lots into 3 lots. The lot line in the northeast corner of the site, I don't know if you can see it, that's lot 1. That's the reason this variance is being requested tonight. The proposed lot is 4,510 square feet, while the city's zoning ordinance requires a 5,000 square foot minimum in an R2 zone for a single-family home. And then to the right, that's the county assessor map with the current lot lines. It might be hard to tell at the moment, but with the current configuration, the property owner couldn't sell or rent one of those 2 homes in the northern portion of that site because of the way those 2 lot lines go through it. And unfortunately, the current lot lines only allow for further development of lots 3 and 4 on that property. So in order for all 3 of the proposed lots to be individualized lots that are not connected to each other, a variance is needed on account of the existing drive pad there to the south and that home directly next to it. So this proposed variance is congruent with municipal objectives to provide market rate single-family homes in response to urgent demand. In regards to this case, we have received 0 protests or inquiries. Therefore, based on the land use and zoning considerations, findings of fact surrounding land uses, and the regulations established in the zoning ordinance and subdivision code, staff recommends approval of zoning case 22-001 VAR to grant a variance to the property located at 914 North Ohio Ave.
Thank you, Spencer. Any questions of Spencer? Thank you.
Yep.
Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of case 22-001? Anybody wishing to speak in favor of case 22001? Being none, anybody in the
Hold on.
audience wishing to
Yep.
speak?
Sorry, could you check online to see if anybody is looking to speak?
That would be Aaron.
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, please state your name and address, please.
Okay, great. My name is Aaron Hollington. I'm the owner of Ash Holdings, LLC at 2200 Carver Drive. I think Spencer did a perfect job articulating the reasons that I think this makes sense, so that the properties can be financed separately. We can help potentially with some infill on that 3rd lot, and that we could have the opportunity down the road at some point to convey them separately. So yeah, I obviously would like to support it, and I think that he did a great job summarizing.
Okay, any questions of the applicant from the commission? Louis?
Mr. Chairman, Aaron, this is Louis Nahad, city engineer. I have a question on your
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. On the northeast property, which direction does that sewer line go? Does it go north to the sewer line on 10th Street, or does it go west to the sewer line in the alley?
I am not 100% sure, unfortunately. I'm taking a peek here. Terry Raines has mentioned to me that we would have a blanket easement for all utility services that might cross the lot lines, but I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that.
Yes, sir, that question was brought up in September of 21 and also January 22. And from a logistic point of view, you do not want your sewer line to cross the neighbor's property without an easement, because there's no guarantee that the property owner will allow you to go fix the line if you have to. And that's my question.
Yes.
That's the only question I have with regard to this case.
Thank you, Louis. And that can be
Okay,
determined,
thank you.
right, established within there a summary plat or something to follow this?
The summary plat is in the draft is in your packet, Chairman, and I don't see it. I even blew it up. 'Cause again, I've asked this question before. I even blew it up, and I don't see any easements or any reference to where the sewer lines are at. I would be comfortable if the applicant would verify that with Terry Raines, the surveyor. And if everything is good, we proceed. And if we need an easement, that they would add the easement to the plat. And if it's going underneath the house, then they would probably have to realign their sewer line to go north to 10th Street.
Okay, so you don't think that the variance that we're approving tonight would make any difference if we didn't approve it or did approve it with you could follow up and have something done with the summary plat before it is
That is
submitted?
correct, as long as the applicant would be willing to follow up to verify that we don't have any future problems. Again, it wouldn't be a problem with the city, but it'd certainly be a problem with the property owners, whoever it is at the time.
Okay, I'm happy to do that, to verify that with Raines.
So what I would like to do then is read into the record a condition of approval, okay, which is we verify the location of the sewer, and if we need an easement, if there's an easement necessary, that becomes a condition of approval of the final, I want to call it a final map, the final plat. Okay?
But that easement,
Easy enough to do.
that easement wouldn't be to the city, correct?
No, it would be to the property owner.
That's right.
But I mean, over the years, in my experience, there have been some neighbors that do not allow the fellow neighbor
Yeah.
to fix the line that goes to their property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I think we all understand. I just don't know if that's a city issue. I would think the owner would want it on the plat, but I don't know if that's something that,
Well, under our city codes, current city codes, every resident should have an independent sewer line, and I wouldn't see that as an independent sewer line if you can't get in there and fix it.
okay, well, whoever makes the motion, just make the stipulation for the applicant and the city to follow up on the existing sewer line or something.
Aaron, are you good with that?
Yes, yeah, I'm happy to follow up on that right away.
Any other questions? The staff, questions of staff, questions of the applicant, anybody, anything?
Nope.
Okay, well, I would accept the motion then, please.
You want to see if anyone's, no one wanted to go against it, right?
Yeah, I think we got interrupted there. Is there anybody wishing to speak against case 22-001? Anybody against it, online or in the audience? Being none, I'd accept a motion.
Commissioners, I make a motion based on the finding of the facts, the land use and zoning considerations, testimony and material presented during this meeting, along with the investigation of the sewer line with Rain Surveying, that we approve case number 22-001.
Second?
We need Jay. We got a Jana. Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Jana and a second by James to approve case number 22-001. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. You know, and Raines may not even know that, being a private line. They may have to get it snaked or something. Nah, not
That's-
way
that's
back
service,
when,
though.
not necessarily. Moving on, we have our second public hearing item is case number 22-005, a final plat, and case number 22-006, final plat. Reason I state them both together is that I am going to have to recuse myself from these two cases. Commissioner McCormick will be taking my place, and I believe we have one other recusal.
Yes, I won't be able to participate. Recuse.
Okay?
Mr. Hollingshed, if you're still there, you're free to go. Or hang up, I should say. If we could have the record reflect that Chair Story and Commissioner Lassard have recused themselves from the meeting. So up next, we have case 22-005, a request for approval of a final plat. If I could have a motion on the reading of the finding of facts, please.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Jesse and a second by Saul to waive the reading of the finding of facts and land use and zoning considerations with respect to case 22-005. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Spencer, you going to introduce this case as well?
Good evening, Commissioner McCornack and Planning and Zoning Commission. All right, for the second and third public hearing items of tonight, we have case 22-005 and 22-006 F-plat, continuations of the preliminary plats heard in January. So case 22-005 F-plat is a request for approval of a final plat to create 62 residential lots in the R1 residential district south of Country Club Road and east of Nevada Avenue. And case 22-006 F-plat is a request for approval of a final plat to create 48 residential lots in the R1 residential district south of Country Club Road and west of Nevada Avenue. So adjacent land uses of the two proposed final plats can be seen here for both of them. To the north, it's Chavez County jurisdiction, zoned RS, and to the southwest and east of both, it's R1 residential. So this slide shows the properties in relation to the city zoning map. Unit 1 is to the east of Nevada, and Unit 7 is to the west. And then here again, we can see Unit 1 and Unit 7 in relation to the entire master plan of the Oaks, right there along Country Club. So here is Unit 1 in a bit more detail. I don't believe there were any changes since January, but I'll give you a second to look at that. And then here we have Unit 7, and we do have changes from January. I'd like to highlight that, see Mesa Oak Drive there, that was Magnolia Lane back in January, but we met with the surveyor and we got that fixed. So furthermore, these proposed final plats directly correspond with larger scale municipal objectives of providing more housing, and both of these act as a catalyst for further development in that area. We have received one verbal inquiry regarding traffic circulation along Country Club Road. I believe last time I spoke with that individual, they said they'd be here either online or in person, so they can voice that concern soon. However, based on the land use and zoning considerations, findings of fact, surrounding land uses, and regulations established in the zoning ordinance and subdivision code, staff recommends approval of zoning case 22-005 F-plat to create 62 residential lots in the 22 acres south of Country Club Road and east of Nevada Avenue. And once again, for case 22-006, F-plat, based on the land use and zoning considerations, findings of fact surrounding land uses, and the regulations established in the zoning ordinance and subdivision code, staff recommends approval of zoning case 22-006 F-plat to create 48 residential lots in the 13.61 acres south of Country Club Road and west of Nevada Avenue.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions at this point?
Mr. Chairman, I have several notes on this, if I could just
Sure.
walk through them. And first thing, I wanted to put the two together, and I wanted to make sure that that White Oak Drive matched up with the drive across Nevada, and it appears that it does. I guess I would ask the city engineer if that's right. It appears that those streets align all right. Louis, do you have that?
I believe they do, but let me do one more double check. Yes, they do, Commissioner.
It appears that, Mr. Chairman, that they do align. I am a little concerned about the label on the west side of Nevada where it says White Oak Drive that goes in to the Unit 7 and goes into Mesa Oak Drive. I would think that that would be confusing if that is labeled White Oak and you move it, drive into Mesa Oak. You see what I'm talking about? Right there at that intersection. It looks like the portion between Nevada and Mesa Oak Drive is labeled White Oak Drive.
Right.
So I don't know if that's going to be a problem or not, but it looks like it would be if you had a sign up there that identified that as White Oak Drive. I guess I don't know if the developer would like to speak to that or if our engineer would like to speak to it. Louis, do you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I see it too, Stephen, but if you look at the numbers on Mesa Oak, 1, 2, they count up and go up, so that would be that's gonna be a Mesa Oak Drive, not a White Oak Drive for that number 1. I'm making assumptions just off what I'm seeing. So that street will probably end at Nevada, just from what I'm seeing, because those two houses right there, the way the lots are facing, it's all arranged, I'm assuming they're gonna be Mesa Oak Drive addresses. So I think that's just to carry over the drawing, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it wouldn't appear that there would be any address there of
No.
White Oak Drive.
That's what I think too.
Yeah,
I think it's just it's a carryover to show us where the streets align, I think is what they tried
Yeah.
to do there, so.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, though. That piece of White Oak Drive looks like it'd only be 150 feet long, and is that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just a continuation. I'm making assumptions for the drawing to show that it does go across in a line.
Yeah.
Louis, what do you think?
I agree with you, and they just have a label on it for White Oak just because it's
Just to show,
continuation.
right?
But what we would have a street sign at the corner of Nevada and White Oak, and we would have another street sign at the corner of Mesa and White Oak, Mesa Oak and White Oak. But that
'Cause those
150,
are two
that's,
different intersections.
yeah.
okay, then the next item that I have is on Magnolia Lane, where it crosses White Oak Drive, it becomes Elder Avenue. So that continues to be a problem for me when you've got the same street with two different names. But I assume at some point when the property south is developed, they'll carry forth on Elder Avenue.
Yeah. I make that assumption too.
But, Mr. Chairman, can we have the developer speak to that?
Yeah. You could state your name and address for the record, please?
Daniel W. DeTola, 3003 Belmont, Roswell. Yes, sir, we gave that a lot of thought with Spencer and the surveyor. We went around and around with that, and we felt, maybe Spencer can help clarify what the city thought. We thought that would be the clearest way to identify that, because if you remember in January, you had a concern because the whole
Made the
street
corner.
was that.
Yeah, it made the corner.
So that's how we tried to adjust it. And the same on the one you were previously talking about. You wanted that to line up, and we knew we'd have to have two street signs there, to clarify that.
Okay. But in your future development
It'll
of
continue down that street.
the next
Yeah.
one, well,
That's
then
right.
it'll continue as Elder.
That's right.
Okay. All righty. I've got two or three more, Mr. Chairman, if I may. I was just curious, you call one of the cul-de-sacs, Elderberry Court, and then you call the other one Twinberry Court. And I was just, after you name all of the Magnolia and Cedar and all that, I was just curious as to why you switched and called it something other than Strawberry or Blueberry or
Well,
Elder.
There's lots of streets in this project, and we had to try to name them all, and you try to get some kind of theme and going on it, and sometimes you kind of run out of names, so you have to come up with something that we think is relative to the project.
Yeah. Well, I just point out that you call one thing and then call the other one completely a different type of
Right.
name. So I mean, it's your property, you can do with it.
Well,
as-
and we do this in conjunction with the city. The planning department sits down with us and approves the names and so on and so forth, and that's how we come to the end of this.
Yeah. The other one that I had a little bit of problem with is on Unit 7, you have a Cedar Lane. And, in the city, we have Cedar Avenue, we have Cedar Circle. So Cedar Lane may be a little bit confusing for some people because the other cedars are, further south in the city. But I just call that to your
Well,
attention.
thank you, sir. We'll,
Brazos Drive, Brazos Circle, Brazos Place, those people on Brazos, they never get the right mail. Everybody else's mail, comes to them. So the least problem that we have with renaming these streets, the better off we are. So I just point that out, Mr. Chairman. And then for our engineering, in these two subdivisions, it appears that we only have one way in and out. There's only one access.
At this phase, that is correct, Commissioner.
So I assume you've done your traffic study that justifies just a
Well, we'll have
single-
XL and DC, we'll have the lanes, additional lanes on Country Club. And with the further development, Sorrento will be part of it, coming in from the east.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Okay, for the first phases, you're correct, Commissioner, we'll only have one access. That'll be Nevada, but we will have XL and decel lanes on Country Club to help out with that. And in the future development, you'll also have Sorrento Drive coming in from the east.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Then finally, when they get ready to give these lots an address, how are they gonna do that? For example, on Mesa Oak Drive or on Magnolia, when you would have a continuance when the property is developed to the south. Do you know how they will assign an address to those lots?
Can you help us with that?
Yeah, that's planning that does it, but I would assume you would be lining up with the streets to the west or east to maintain whether it's a 2300 block or 2400 block as you're going north. And
So it wouldn't be 1, 2, and 3, it would be 100.
Yeah, no, it won't necessarily be 1, 2, and 3.
yeah, and I don't know, Kevin, has your group already addressed all this?
Yep. Mr. Commissioner, the street addressing is done by our office, and we work with not only, we actually have one person in our office, Todd Versiglio, who you're aware of. His sole responsibility is to assign street addresses. He works with the police department, works with the fire department, works with everything, works with our GIS, making sure that everybody knows and understands. That's why some of this is, even between now and when the developer builds, some of this is subject to change, okay, in order to make sure that we provide public health, safety, and welfare. Okay, and that's where our police department, our fire department come in, and we do the best we can to work with them to make sure that on the GIS, when there is a addressing issue, that addressing issue is taken care of before there's a problem, not after the fact.
It's the same with sort of like the mail and so on. The post office has a big input
Yeah.
in that aspect of the project.
Yeah.
They determine,
Well, I didn't know whether it would be number 1, 2, or 3 of Mesa Oak, or whether it would be 1900 or whatever the
that again.
address
will-
might be.
Yeah, right.
So I think it needs to be given some careful thought. That's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your interest.
Anybody else have questions at this point? Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of case 22-005? State your name and address for us, please, sir.
Larry Conley, 2815 in Canto. I'm for both plots. Let's get it built. Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak in favor? Name and address, please,
My
sir.
name's Jim Mitchell. I live at 5006 West Thunderbird Lane, Roswell. I guess the one thing I just wanted to clarify on this is we're asking for approval of phases 1 and 7. And we're kind of looking at this master plan, this overall master plan. That is more or less a concept of what our intentions are to build, but it's still a working document as we move forward. Because I know there's been some concerns about Sorrento going through to Union, and there's multiple concerns. None of those that won't be affected by phase 1 and 7 currently. So this is kind of an island of its own versus the overall conceptual master plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of case 22-005?
My name is Judy Stubbs. I live at 1 Brazos Circle, not Brazos Place or Brazos Court or Brazos Street. Just saying. No, forgive me. I'm not here to speak against this. I just have had some concerns as we've gone through this, and I just sort of thought for the record this would be an opportunity, and I've already spoken to Mr. Mitchell, but I think it was stated before, maybe Commissioner Henderson, I'd really hope there's going to be a traffic impact analysis done, especially on Country Club. And I'm looking into the future, and I realize it's still a flowing document, but I'm a little concerned. I don't know what the width of these streets are, and maybe there's something standard. I've never asked that question before. But my concerns, again, are as this project moves east, going on to Serenata, that's been mentioned too, that when I walk, not very often, I walk that area, and there are already cars parked on both sides of the street, and I'm assuming these are going to be some starter homes just like those are. There are a lot of kiddos in those neighborhoods, and already there are a lot from Serenata going on to Brazos Street to cut across, I guess, and go to Washington to go where they're going. So I really hope that the planning department and this commission would look seriously at that traffic flow of already pretty heavily packed residential streets. The other thing I'm thinking about, and this is in this final plat, and that is that Magnolia Lane, the way it looks right now, has 32 houses on it before there's a break in the street. Most residential blocks have, I don't even know, maybe 12, 14 houses on them at the most. I'm concerned again about the traffic on these residential streets. And other than that, I love the project. I think it's wonderful. Everybody, I just got back from the National League of Cities, and one of the main things we're talking about nationally is housing, and is workforce housing, and the need and how desperate everybody is. So I applaud the developers and staff for putting this together and thinking about Roswell as needing all of this. But I do have concerns, I think, more about the traffic than anything else, and thank you.
Yep.
Okay. The concerns expressed by Councilor or Citizen Stubbs now are shared by all of us. One of the things you'll notice on the master plan, there is a implementation of a number of different traffic calming measures. Okay? These are things that are relatively new to Roswell. We haven't, at least in the time I've been here, been able to implement them. Things like roundabouts, things like traffic humps, things like making sure we don't have any block longer than about 600 feet. Okay? These things will ensure the safety of the residents that are living in these neighborhoods, but they will also ensure that there is little to no speeding, no racing, no jumping on the accelerator, in these areas. We won't eliminate everything, But we also have the ability, though, to create a scenario here where the residents of this neighborhood are directed towards Nevada, they're directed towards Country Club, they're directed towards Sycamore, Syracuse. Sycamore, thank you. Anyway, but the bottom line is, for all the residents that are in this area, yes, traffic safety is a priority. And we will do everything we can to ensure that traffic safety is maintained.
Go ahead.
Kevin, maybe I misheard the meeting before last meeting, or whenever this was brought up the first time. Is there talk or future talk of making Country Club into a 4-lane road, or did I misunderstand?
No. Country Club, and I'll get our city engineer to chime in here. Country Club is already a primary highway, is it not?
It's a primary arterial. If you notice that first part from Montana going west, it's already a 4-lane. When we did Untana and that part, we went ahead and extended the project to get a 4-lane. It should be a 4-lane, but there are no projects or funding for making it a 4-lane. I've given a list of widening streets and streetlights around the city, but that's about as far as it's gone.
I just wondered because it's started as a 4-lane and then it congests into 2 lanes. So if that was a 4-lane, that would definitely make traffic move a little, I would assume, a little bit smoother.
Well, absolutely. If it was a 4-lane, then we wouldn't necessarily need the decel lanes and accel lanes. But at this point, the decel and accel lanes will be helping with the traffic.
Yeah. Thank you. I was just curious. I just didn't know if there's something in the plans or not.
We're already doing this at Country Club and Union right now, where we've got a couple of commercial projects coming in. We're widening the road, we're putting in the accel and decel lanes to make sure that through traffic continues to move, and traffic accessing the interior projects, okay, they have a clear way to accelerate and decelerate.
Okay. Thank you.
Have we done a traffic impact analysis to identify improvements required?
We have not done a bona fide traffic impact analysis. We just based on experience and the review of this project, that's how we came up with it. Again, hoping, as Commissioner Jesse stated, having a 4-lane. I think with the first phases, it's going to show that we need the 4-lane on Country Club, and then there'll be, part of my job is to convince council that we can slowly build it and slowly fund it.
Thanks, sir. Any other questions? Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of case 22-005? Anybody online? No? Being no more, is there anyone wishing to speak against case 22-005? No one online? Nobody's online? Thank you, sir. Any final questions from anybody? Being none, I'd entertain a motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Steve and a second by Jesse to approve case 22-005 final plat. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next up, we have case 22-006, final plat, which we've already discussed some. If I could still have a motion to waive the reading of the finding of facts, please.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Jesse and a second by Saul to waive the reading of the finding of facts for case 22-006. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Spencer, is there anything we need to present again with respect to case 2206? I think you've already covered it. Okay. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of case 22-006? Seeing none, is there anyone wishing to speak against case 22-006? Nothing else, commissioners? Any questions that we haven't talked about already with 22-006?
No.
No? Being none, I'd entertain a motion, please.
Second.
We have a motion by Steve and a second by Richard to approve case 22-006 final plat. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. If we could have the record reflect that Chair Story and Commissioner Lassard are returning to the meeting.
The motion that we have, Mr. Chairman.
Well, Spencer's done the heavy lifting tonight. I get to do the fun stuff. So, I have to ask Commissioner Aguilar, Commissioner Lassard, and Commissioner McCormick to leave the dais, please, because we're going to talk about you.
Could have told her that before she walked all the way back up there. All right, I'm assuming we are under other business, or what? Where are we, Kevin?
We are down to the nomination of P and Z Commission members to fill
Yeah, number
vacancies.
4. Okay, I got it.
We technically do not have any vacancies because. No, right there. That's just, we're going to talk about you.
Just don't say anything, okay?
Anyway, I am so happy and pleased to come back with 3 nominations for our vacancies that will be coming up at the end of this month. We have 3 vacancies to fill. We sent out the appropriate paperwork. We allowed for appropriate time for people to come forward. And the wonderful thing is all 3 of our planning commissioners have asked to be reappointed. So at this point, commissioners, we're asking that the remainder of you, of course, give your blessings and your approval so that we can move it forward to our new mayor coming next month and have our commission reapproved.
So do we need to make a motion, or?
Yes, you do need to make a motion.
Yeah, and that it would
That is
be to-
assuming you like the 3 that are
I don't know
available.
about that Saul guy, but the other 2 are okay.
Well, in the motion.
There's
should
1 or
be
2
that
that's
we move it-
questionable.
It's our recommendation. that we
It's
approve
entirely
the
up to you.
3 and we move it.
Can we hear some campaign speeches?
I think they're as ready to go home as we are.
Could we do that later?
Can we do it on a phone?
Thank you all for putting back in. Thanks to James, he did a great job in my absence. I'm thinking that's probably a good sign for me to head on out here. But, so now if we would go ahead and accept a motion, please, on these 3 applications. It's to recommend.
I'd like to make a motion
the
to
mayor.
approve all 3 of our current commissioners to continue their service. I need to word it
Commissioner?
different.
Second.
The motion should be to recommend approval by the mayor.
So I would like to make a motion to recommend approval by the mayor for all three of our current commissioners who have reapplied to continue to be commissioners.
Second.
And we have a motion by Jesse and a second by Richard to approve reappointment and recommend approval. It goes to the mayor of Jana Lassard, Sal Aguilar, and James McCormick. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Being none. You guys can stay out there if you want to, or you can come back up, whatever you want to do. We probably won't be here much longer if you want to just stay there. Other business, do we have any other business to report, or? No other business? Larry, you got anything else you want to say? No. Any announcements? I think we're done. Let's see here, what time is it? Meeting is adjourned at 6:50.